Shiva Siddhi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A little bit more. It has to go down a bit more. I won't see the screen. Down. That's it. Then I put it up like this. Then it's like tight. There we go. That's better. Welcome everybody. It's wonderful to see so many devotees here tonight on this auspicious occasion of the appearance day of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. It's also a very memorable day. It's the disappearance day of His Divine Grace, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, one of our dearmost devotees of ISKCON, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who passed away also on this day almost 30 years ago, 29 years ago. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj appeared. We're going to have to get straight into it because our time is short. I think they want to have prasadam at 7:45. That's 2 minutes ago. Oh, maybe you can give me an extra minute. What time is prasadam? Pardon? Huh? It's already started. It never starts, it never stops here. It just keeps going on all day long. It's a good idea. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj loved to see prasad distribution. Well, let's see. We've done a little Mangalacharana, we've chanted a little bit. We'll go straight into it. Now I'm going to open up a PowerPoint presentation if we can. Let's see what we can do here. Let me know if there's anything on the screen. Is there anything on the screen? Okay, so you all know that today is the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was known as the Acharya's son. He brought light into the darkness of this world. The ray of Vishnu is a direct associate of Lord Vishnu. Vaikuntha man, he's not of this world. He's an eternal associate of the Lord, coming from the spiritual realm. The Singha Guru, because the Guru means one who's heavy with knowledge. He described the meaning of a Guru, or sadhu, not even a Guru. A sadhu is not one who just flatters us. Oftentimes we think of a sadhu or, some kind of... It's gone off again for some reason, I don't know why. Why has it gone off? Oh, it's come back on again. It's coming and going. Flickering devotional service. What's happening is some problem is taking place. It comes and goes all the time here. Is it because that's hanging? Maybe if I move this to the right and you put that on the table like that, maybe it'll be steadier, I don't know. There's so many wires connected to so many wires for some reason. I think that's probably the reason. There's like 3 different connections here. 1, 2, 3, maybe more. At least 3. I don't know. It's on. Pardon? That one there, well, let me move it a little further. I can handle it. As long as it doesn't go any further, that can hold it. We have another idea. Let's see if the other idea works. Didn't happen like this morning. We were perfectly fine this morning, but now we're not. So he's a Singha Guru because he describes the nature of the sadhu in pretty heavy terms, mental and bodily mentality, and this attachment we have. So a real sadhu is like one who cuts with very strong words. They'll have these temples where they slaughter animals in the temple with this very low class or very, let's say, mode of ignorance type of worship. But it's like that. The executioner cuts out with a weapon of sharp words our material bondage. You say that's very cruel, but it's like a physician who sometimes has to cut something out in order to save us. But we're so attached, we don't like to be chastised or whatever it is, corrected. We just don't like it because we're so attached. But the pure devotees, they feel so sad to see that we're causing our own suffering in this world by becoming entangled over and over again. And they're also sad because we could be bringing pleasure to Krishna. Instead, we're trying to enjoy ourselves, seeing ourselves in the center. So the real Guru speaks in such a... He's heavy with knowledge. He can see above the modes of nature. He can see what we need to change our perception, to change our direction in life. Doesn't matter whether married, old, young, man, woman, it doesn't make any difference. The goal is the same for everyone, to go back to Godhead. We've already been through a few times the prayers to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, so we'll jump over that. I just said one or two on my own just now. We're going to go straight into the poem. This famous poem was written by Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, in 1936 as an offering to Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj on the occasion of his appearance. So that's going back about 89 years, I think. If my mathematics serves me right, I think it's 89 years ago. Our Srila Prabhupada wrote this poem to Srila Bhakti. He also wrote many other things, but this is the most famous one. Adore, adore ye all the happy day, more blessed than heaven and sweeter than May, when he appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope is divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways, to turn our face, adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's tolls. Darkness around, all untraced, the only hope is divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a healthful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity thou hast moved. This gives us a life, anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the mace. Save me, a fallen, your divine grace. The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, your divine grace. No, 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 no. Miracle done, your divine grace. Bolo, miracle done, your divine grace. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. We carry on whenever. Prasadam will be tomorrow morning. It's hard to stop when you get going, isn't it? When you start chanting Hare Krishna, how to stop? Very difficult. But we have a duty here to at least say a few words about Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj in the short time. Very, very brief. So we're going back now 150 years ago, more or less. Just over. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the great acharya in our line, was very concerned, like all devotees, for the welfare of the world, and he was wondering, who can help me to spread this great message? I need help. His sons, he'd had 3 sons already. He was married to Bhagavati Devi Dasi, wonderful devotee also. He had already had 3 sons, but some or another he felt that he needed someone very special. So he prayed to the Lord, to Rupa Goswami, to Lord, to please send him an assistant. So on February the 6th, 1874, Bhaktivinoda Thakur at that time was residing. I don't know where you were living in 1874. Do you know where you were? Were you born then? No. You weren't that old. Huh? 150 years old. You'd be a famous man if you were 150. 150 years ago, almost exactly. 151 years, something like that. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj appeared of course, from the womb of Bhagavati, in Puri. He was born in Puri, and if you've been to Jagannath Puri on the Grand Road there's one Gaudiya Math temple, and that's the actual house. It used to be the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was the chief magistrate. And there his wife gave birth to a baby boy. And right from the beginning it was obvious this child was not an ordinary boy. The astrologer said he's never seen an astrology like this before. He's never read anything like this before. He also had physical features which indicated very special broad forehead and chest and long arms and beautiful eyes. Like that, he had physical features which were unique also. A very kind of a grandiose nose and so on. And the astrologer could see that this person can basically change the world. He could see something extraordinary in his astrology. And sure enough, there was. So this is what he said. I have done many that's Bhakti Siddhanta when he was a little boy. I have done many horoscopes in my life, but I have never seen before such a horoscope filled with all the signs of a great personality. This child will become world famous as a brilliant teacher of life's ultimate goal. And that's quite something, since it wasn't always easy to see spiritual characteristics, but he could see it. He grew up in a big family as Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the middle and Bhagavati on the right as we look at it, and their various children. He had about 12 children altogether, and I think a couple of them expired. So Bhakti Siddhanta, and this is a later picture. He's a youth, or probably a late youth at that time. On the top left-hand side there, you'll see him. Top left-hand. He had a moustache at that time. And when he grew up, even when he was a baby, of course, he was born. He was born with the umbilical cord. The cord between the mother and the child was wrapped around his neck like a Brahmin thread. Just like a Brahmin. Even though his father had not taken Brahmin, he didn't actually wear Brahmin thread. But Bhakti Siddhanta's umbilical cord was wrapped around like a Brahmin thread. After, when he was 3 months old, the Rath Yatra festival took place in June. February, March, April, maybe 3 or 4 months, 4 months maybe. The Rath Yatra festival took place, and because his father was a chief magistrate, he had special privileges, and he was also the manager of the temple. So his wife took his son up onto the Rath car to place him in front of Lord Jagannath to get the blessings of Lord Jagannath. And the garland from Lord Jagannath fell down on top of the boy as he was placed there. His name at birth was Bimala Prasad. Bimala Prasad is the name of the goddess. He's actually of Kamyavan, the goddess of Kamyavan. She's also famous in Puri also as the goddess to whom the Mahaprasadam of Lord Jagannath is offered to first. Then it's distributed. Only then it's considered Mahaprasad. So he had this name, one who brings good fortune. And then after some time they moved back to Bengal, or at least the wife did. His wife moved back with the child back to Bengal to their home, not far from Krishnanagar. And whilst he was there, his father was there at the time also, he was just a young boy of 2 years old, and his father had purchased or obtained some mangoes to offer to their deity. And the little boy, 2 years old, saw these ripe, beautiful-looking mangoes, and he grabbed a mango and started to eat it. His father admonished him and told him, "You have committed a great offense. These mangoes are for the pleasure of the Lord. You should know you should not eat anything unless it has been offered to the Lord first." So there and then, a 2-year-old boy, he made a vow. He said, "I will never eat mangoes for the rest of my life. I am an offender. I will not touch mango again because of my offense." He immediately said like that. So, like that, these were obvious signs of an extraordinary child. He was a brilliant scholar. He was known as Shrutidhar. He could remember things once by hearing it once. He could remember, even on the page, he could tell you which page it was on if you mentioned some line or subject. He could, photogenic memory, and but he wasn't really interested in all his studies. But the teachers wonder, what type of child is this? He doesn't study, but he would always get top marks in the exam because he would remember everything just by looking at it. But he wasn't really interested. His interest was in the spiritual realm. But still, he was a very great scholar, great student, a great writer also. By the time, I think, by the time he was 6 or 7, he'd already memorized the whole Gita and was preaching from it practically, word for word. And by the time he was about 11, he wrote he wrote a few things. He actually compiled a staccato, I think it was called, a particular type of shorthand. He compiled it by the time he was 11 or 12. Very amazing, brilliant brain. A very wonderful student. He wrote poems, different poems, Poriad and different things. But then when he was a student, he went to university, but he said, when he was 16, he formed a debate society at school. He loved debating. Nobody could beat him. He was a great debater. He loved to debate and defeat. It's one part of his childhood. Lord Chaitanya also liked to debate. He always was he was always defeating everyone in debate. But he said during his study years, "My life is for the single-minded cultivation of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya, not for the cultivation of grammar. I have only studied the Vedas, the branches of the Vedas and their related parts in a secondary manner." So even in what to speak of mundane or material education, even the Vedic knowledge, he only studied it as a secondary manner so that he could, understand all the various reasons and various statements of Shastra, so he could use that in his communication and preaching. Prabhupada says, our Prabhupada that is, from childhood he was a strict brahmachari. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Strict brahmachari has said that in his whole life he never once passed semen. Not once. Strict brahmachari. Never passed semen. But he did say, if I could be rest assured that if I were to have if every child I would beget would become a pure devotee, I have sex 100 times or more to produce a pure devotee child. He said is a great, because we never know, but that's a great service. And he underwent very severe penances for starting this worldwide movement. That was his mission. But at the age of 21, he was a brilliant scholar studying at University College. And he was a great astronomer, mathematician, astronomer. He wrote a Surya Siddhanta commentary on this great ancient scripture on astrology. And he was also considered to be responsible for the, in relationship to the finding of Pluto or something in the galaxies. But he was mainly an astrologer and very, very expert. But he gave that up. He had lost all interest in all, even related Vedic studies and so on, and to focus entirely, especially he would read the books of his father. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written many, many books, so he was very ardently studying those books. He was assisting his father in editing, proofreading, compiling the papers and everything for printing, and very much so he was trained by his father in these various areas. He was also working as a librarian for the King of Tripura for some time in the editing and other departments there. He needed some income, I guess. And like that, but eventually he came back, and he was in Puri when his father was preaching there and managing the temple and what have you. But when he was in Puri, he took up the mood of his father, but he was a very strong preacher. There was one famous Babaji there, Radharaman Charan Das Babaji, and he was very popular. If ever you go to Jagannath Puri, you go to the Siddhabakal, the place where Haridas Thakur was performing his bhajan, or even in the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur and a few other places, you'll hear them, and they're chanting Nitai Gaur, Radhe Shyam, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, and different similar mantras, which they're followers of Radharaman Charana Das Babaji. Well, Bhakti-Vinod showed respect to him. He was actually a follower of Bhakti-Vinod for some time. Then he started his own kind of movement, and kind of introduced some kind of deviations from the actual Siddhanta, Apasiddhanta, something off from the actual Rasabhas, it's called. It means it's not favourable combinations of mantras and so on. They sound very nice. Bhakti Siddhanta, at that time, of course, he was not initiated. He was Bhimala Prasad at that time. And he was very strongly preaching against this, so much so that his life was in danger. So Bhakti-Vinod sent him away from Puri, and he went back to Navadvip Mayapur. And there, eventually Bhakti-Vinod also moved in that direction, Krishnanagar, Midnapur, Krishnanagar and other places. And whilst they were there, Bhakti-Vinod Thakur built a house in Godrundweep, across the Jalangi from Mayapur, where he resided, and Bhakti Siddhanta was there. And once he was there, Gaurkishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, they were still on the planet, and they would come regularly to see Bhakti-Vinod and associate. So in Bhimala Prasad, at that time he'd also got different names. Siddhanta had been added because of his Surya Siddhanta commentary, and Siddhanta Saraswati because he was a great learned scholar, Siddhanta Saraswati. He hadn't been initiated at this point of time, so his father wanted him to get initiated, so he sent him to, he said he should take initiation from one of his associates, Gaurkishore Das Babaji. So he approached Gaurkishore Das Babaji, who was a literate, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati at the time was extremely learned scholar and very intellectual in every way. So Gaurkishore said, I'm ignorant fool, you're a very educated man, I'm not qualified. And Bhakti Siddhanta was insistent, and so eventually he said, okay, I will ask Mahaprabhu. And so a few days later, Siddhanta Saraswati came back. Did you ask Mahaprabhu? Oh, I forgot to ask him. Come back again. So sometime later he came back and he said, oh, did you ask Mahaprabhu? He said, yes, I asked him, but he didn't say anything. He was silent. And when Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj was very devastated, of course. His father told him, well, we hear this, I don't know if it's authorized, but that's what we hear, that if you don't get initiated, you can take your dinners elsewhere. Don't come home again. You have to get initiated. So then he cracked down, started crying. You and Mahaprabhu, you are worshippers of the Supreme Lord, the transcendental devotee. How would you have interest in a worldly man like me? I'm just an ordinary fallen worldly person, proud of my education, to hell with my education. Then he started singing, Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya. A beautiful song, compiled by his father. How without the mercy of the spiritual master we have nothing, we're useless. We have no value of any kind. We may be a scholar, we may be a businessman, we may be what we are, but we're useless. We have no real value. Just another number in the cycle of karma, the samsara cycle. So he fell down crying, and Gaurkishore took pity on him. Okay, go and take your bath and come back. Then he initiated him. Very simple initiation. It's said the name Bhakti was added, that's all that was added at that time. Sometimes it's said, quite often, he also received the name Sri Barsha Bhanavi Devi. But that's not 100% sure. As a scholar, you can see them there. When he was in Puri also, maybe that was the time actually, maybe it was after initiation, but his father sent him away. He went to Rajapatana in Mayapur, place now where you see the Four Sampradaya temple on Bhakti Siddhanta's Gaudiya Math there. He stayed in that area, chanting day and night. He made a vow that he would chant 1 billion names of Krishna. It's a lot of names. He calculated it would take 11 years if he chanted 192 rounds a day for 11 years. So he started doing that, living in a straw hut and just chanting more or less all day and most of the night, just resting a little bit, hardly eating. For years he chanted there. But his spiritual master also gave him the instruction at a certain point of time that he should preach the message of Mahaprabhu. So he did that for many years, preparing, as Prabhupada said, if we listened earlier on, Srila Prabhupada said he was a strict brahmachari, and he also prepared himself by performing great austerities. He would just eat like half-cooked rice off the floor. That was his sustenance. And then he came back again after some years and assisted his father in many ways, preaching strongly against caste Brahmanism, against Sahajism, against impersonalism, and so on and so forth. Very strong preacher. But then in 1914 his father passed away. In 1915 his spiritual master passed away. So he was very distraught. We heard about that this morning. We discussed mostly about his mood and his spirit of preaching this morning, and the emphasis on chanting the holy name. So we're not hearing much about that tonight. We're hearing more about the life history. So he wondered what to do now. My guru's passed away. My spiritual guide has passed away. I'm alone. He did that. He had some disciples. Interesting. We mentioned that he started initiating when he was in Brajapatana, performing bhajan, and he had a few disciples, even in the presence of his own initiating guru. But that was said, he received this instruction from his guru to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya very boldly. So how will I do that? Well, one of his disciples, Kunja Bihari, encouraged him to do that. And then we heard this morning of the wonderful vision he had, wondering how is this possible to preach in this world, this message? And then the Panchatattva Goswamis, his own gurus, they all appeared before him and assured him, don't worry, we are with you. Have no doubt whatsoever. Go forward, preach. This is the secret of preaching, depending on Krishna. It's not that we're doing it. We're just offering ourselves as instruments for the Lord to preach through us as an instrument. So then he eventually, 2 or 3 years later, it was evident that in order to start a missionary preaching movement, he needed to take sannyas, but there was no one around to take sannyas from. There were no other Gaudiya sannyasis. There were a few Babajis, that was so different. He hadn't much choice. So in front of a picture of his Gurudev, of course there's the famous story of him also putting his Guru into samadhi. We won't tell that now, but that was a famous story. And then in 1918 he decided to take sannyas to try to start a mission. Generally at that time you had to have sannyas to start a mission or to head up a mission. But there was no one to take, no Gaudiya sannyasi, there was only impersonalists. So he took sannyas with, basically speaking, without any, just on his own, in front of a picture of his guru. He entered in the sannyas order. He came back to Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. And then he went to Calcutta after a short while and opened the first branch in a place called Alta Dunga, differently pronounced. Still there now, it's now an ISKCON property. If you go to Calcutta, I recommend you go there. It's one of the most profound. You were with me when I went? No. I've been there twice in the last 2 years. I never went before. I just can't resist going there when I'm in Calcutta, Mayapur. The most profound experience of feeling his presence there, feeling the presence of our spiritual master, because it was there that our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, in the painting is in the bottom right of that picture, taking he didn't take initiation, but he first met his Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj there in Altadanga on the roof. An incredible place. Is now owned by ISKCON, run by ISKCON. Beautiful place, absolutely amazingly run. Radhanath Maharaj's disciples. Fantastically organized. One of the most wonderful places I've ever been. It's there that our Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj, his eternal Guru, and imparted that message. You are educated young men. You should dedicate your life to preaching this message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world, in the English language. Prabhupada was taken aback. That was the beginning of this movement, you could say. He wrote many books and magazines. He established, even when he was a young man, 1913, he actually started a press to assist his father in publishing. But then especially he started various printing presses. He called the printing press the Briyat Madanga. If ever you look on the logo of the Gaudiya Math, that's the name of the mission he started. If you look on their logo, what do you see? What do you see? Pardon? You see the printing press. The logo is, there's two sides to the logo. Of course, the ultimate goal is pure love of God. So there's two paths. One is the Vaidhi Sadhana path, the other is the Raganuga path. On the Vaidhi Sadhana path, you see the Pancharatrika Shastras guiding one in daily worship and regulated principles and so on of living. And also daily worship is, of course, there as a prominent aspect on the Pancharatrika side. Reverential daily worship like we do on that side, following the various Shastras, Pancharatra Pradeep and Hari Bhakti Vilas and so on. Give rules, regulations and so on, which is the path of Vaidhi, regulated restrictions and so on, to guide us or to purify us on the path of devotion. On the other side is the Raganuga path. Naturally the Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy name, is on that side, and Srimad Bhagavatam is on that side. And also he has the printing press there, a mundane instrument, but it's said that he would offer respects to the print. Even our own Srila Prabhupada, I was told that he bowed down in front of the printing press that printed the Bhagavatams. I heard that. It becomes spiritualized by printing these transcendental literature, a mundane mechanical machine. But you see that it's on the logo. He called it the Briyat Madanga. The Madanga is used in Kirtan, boom, 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 in the Kirtan, But he said that can be heard 1 or 2 blocks, but the Briyat Madanga, the printing press, can be heard all over the world. He emphasized the printing press. Our Srila Prabhupada said that's the one main thing, because our Prabhupada's father was also a Vaishnava. He was also a great devotee of Krishna. But he said the one thing specifically that he learned from Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj was book publication, book printing, distribution. Most important means, he saw that as the major means of spreading Krishna consciousness. The goal of that is to get everyone chanting, but the methodology was to spread and distribute these transcendental literatures. More than temples, the books were the most important thing to him. And he published many writing. The Harmonist was a regular magazine compiled in the English language, a weekly magazine, The Harmonist. And also the Nadia Prakash. This Nadia Prakash, I don't read Bengali. If anyone here is from Bengal, what does it say? Any Bengalis with us? Can you read it? Any Bengalis? Anyone from Bengal? Bangladesh? Where have all the Bengalis gone? Call on Sankirtan, everyone. Where are they all? No Bengalis. Unusual. If we ask that question in Paris, everyone's a Bengali. Yeah. Is anyone not a Bengali? Right, I think maybe 1 or 2 Punjabis, Nepalis, 1 or 2, but 90% Bengali. And I'm sure there's many of them in Australia too, are there? Bengalis here? Must be quite a lot of Bengali people here. I'd imagine, maybe. Anyway, this is supposed to be, I don't know if it is, I can't read it, but I tried to download a copy of the Nadia Prakash front page. Very simple. It's a newspaper. He was producing a daily newspaper in Bengali called Nadia Prakash. Daily, every day. Not once a year, every day. I don't know how many pages, but once a day. A newspaper about Krishna consciousness, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And one scholar asked him, or somebody was associated with him, said, how can you possibly do this? A daily newspaper about Krishna consciousness? What can you do daily? He answered him, said, how many newspapers are there in Calcutta? Maybe 6 different newspapers, 3 editions a day. And all over the world there are tens of thousands of newspapers, hundreds of thousands, editions, 1, 2 a day. In those days there was no Facebook, no other CNN news. These things didn't exist. It was all newspapers. He said, you can produce every day so many newspapers all over the world, and you think of something to say every single day about this tiny little insignificant planet. I could produce a newspaper every moment if we had the means to do it, and never repeat anything. This is news of the absolute world, which is unlimited. The news of this world is so teeny. We think it's so varied, but it's not. It's just very, very little tiny news. Little thing there. The news of the spiritual world is full of unending, unlimited variety. We could produce a magazine every moment. He was very powerful in his preaching. And let's see, so he was very revolutionary. He started opening centers all over India, Gaudiya Math, initiating many devotees from all castes of life. Didn't care what their past was. If they were willing to follow, they would be initiated. Ladies also would follow, generally speaking, their husbands. And then many vanaprasthas even, sannyasis. One of his most revolutionary preaching projects was his diorama exhibits. Doesn't sound very exciting now, but in those days those type of things were rare. Nobody ever seen them. It was like a real revolution. And he was going to all the major cities setting up these diorama, he got his followers to do it. His disciples, very powerful personality. And his disciples were doing this, and they were huge. I mean, we sometimes misunderstand, I suppose, but the whole idea was to bring the ordinary people to Krishna consciousness. So he employed all kinds of tactics. He set up these diorama exhibits would sometimes cover many square miles. Many square miles. That's a lot of space. Say like 4 square kilometers. Can you imagine? And it wasn't just dioramas. There would be all kinds of there would be like a whole fair going on. He'd have wrestling events going on, and all kinds of things taking place to attract the people. We complain about holy festivals sometimes, but that's nothing. He had all kinds of things going on there, animals and display and all sorts of things, different performers, different dances, all kinds of things going on to attract the public. So they would also see, and as going around the exhibits, they'd see the dioramas, they'd hear the kirtan, they'd get maybe prasadam and some literature and some things. Some of them bring people in. So those dioramas were one of his biggest preaching programs of all. They were revolutionary preaching through the dioramas. He had a lot of challenges, as we heard this morning, on his Navadvip Parikrama and his Brajmandal Parikrama. Many threats on his life. People were very, very disturbed, especially the caste Brahmins, because he was preaching anyone can be a Brahmin, anyone can be a sannyasi if they know the science of Krishna. Nothing to do with birth. No one should think that the deity belongs to me, that I own the deities, the temple. No. Brahmin, he said, means an opportunity to expand one's service to the Lord and to the public. Especially sannyasi said that really means becoming a servant of all, master of none. He also very much wanted to preach in the Western world. We have to skip through quickly here. He wanted to preach. So in 1933, I think it was, or 32, he eventually sent some disciples to the Western world. He'd sent a few preliminary books and things, but now he wanted to send disciples. So this is a picture in Madras, just before the devotees are about to leave to London, Bon Maharaj, Saranga Maharaj, I think it was. The happy day, he said, the happy day has come when we are destined to spread the message of our great master, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to distant corners of the earth. The spiritual service to which we are dedicated has now passed the bud stage and blown fully into a flower, whose aroma we have to carry across the seas with that willingness which characterized Sri Hanuman when he leapt over the wide ocean with the message of Sri Ram. This extension of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual gift to foreign countries is our humble offering at his feet. It was a very long speech. That's just the opening stanza. Just to see the mood. He was very happy to see that now this message of Lord Chaitanya is going to far distant countries as Lord Chaitanya desired. And he gave this instruction to our Prabhupada. He gave it to many, of course. And they did their best, I'm sure, but they didn't manage to get too far in their preaching. And they came back to India after some time. And they established a little program, a little centre in London, but it never really went very far. They did some preaching throughout Europe, in France and Germany, and even in Prague, in Czech Republic, they preached there and a few other countries. He also emphasized the importance of influencing important people in society, including the Westerners. This is a group of dignitaries, mainly Westerners. There's quite a few Indian dignitaries there too, but a lot of Westerners there. At that time, of course, India was under the British rule, and some of these are important members of the British rulers in Bengal. Particularly, what was his name again? Forgotten. The Viceroy of Bengal, Anderson, I think his name was. He came, I got lots of pictures, this is only one of them. He came to meet Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj in Mayapur. And again, he was very revolutionary. He brought in Western toilets in the middle of the field. They'd never been seen before, just for the visitors, the English dignitaries, and he had cooks come up from Calcutta to cook food which they could eat, and it wasn't even vegetarian. And we don't imitate that, but he was quite revolutionary. He said that he would even have cigarettes rolled for the workers to build the temples if they needed them. All very revolutionary, very revolutionary. Whatever it took to bring forth the message, he would dress in extraordinary clothes for a sannyasi in India at the time. Just like here, he arrived in Radhakund in a fancy English car. They drove into Radhakund. Now normally we don't approach Radhakund in that type of way. But there he used to wear quite often long western coats. Very smart. I don't know if you can see it, but in that previous slide, in that previous slide, right in the middle, you'll see one Indian man there with a black kind of like, not the one with a suit on, another one with a kind of I don't know what you call it, a jacket of some kind, I don't know what you call that, but right in the middle, he has glasses on. He's actually one of his disciples. He had his disciples dressed up like this to greet the Westerners, so they felt like they were, at home. He wasn't into all this, they say, restrictions. Preaching was his mission. And whilst he was there and he preached, many of the locals, they were surprised to see him arriving like this as a sadhu, but they asked him to speak on Krishna Lila. He spoke from Ishopanishad and other Upanishads. They weren't very inspired by it, but he said they're not residing in Radhakund, they're residing in Narakakund, a hellish place, because their minds are not actually in the right state of mind. They're self-centered. They're not all now, of course, not like that, but he saw most of these Babajis, they were not at all true to their word. Many of them were also interested in sensual activities. So he didn't take that very... Anyway, it's another topic. Whilst he was in Radhakund, this may have been in 1930-something, 35 or something, our Srila Prabhupada came to see him. There's a little misconception in this regard. Oftentimes you see a picture of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj walking on the banks of Radhakund. It wasn't on the bank of Radhakund, it was in his room. He had a a mandir, a little house there in Radhakund, which he used to stay in. Bhaktivinoda established it. He would stay there. It was there that he gave Srila Prabhupada instructions. Agun shall be, he said. Yeah, that very soon there will be fire in the Gaudiya Math. In 1930-31, one of his disciples, Jagabandhu, was a rich businessman, had built a very beautiful temple in a place called Bag Bazaar. Some of you have been there maybe. And it's marble temple. Very biggest at that time. It was very big. It's not very big really, but it was big at that time. And that was their major temple of the Gaudiya Math. But he saw after a few years that many of his disciples were thinking they owned the place. I'm in charge here, this is my room and all this stuff. He became a little discontent with their behavior. And he told our Prabhupada, if ever you get money, print books. And he said, if I could, he said, I would tear down the marble from the temple and print books. He didn't want to do that, but because they were misusing the facilities. Becoming attached, thinking it's mine. Then he said, better we tear down the marble and use it to print books. He really was into book printing, book writing, publishing, printing. That was his life and soul. And he imparted that to our Srila Prabhupada. That was our Prabhupada's main drive was book distribution, more than anything else by far and away. So we got those instructions there. Now, to finish off, because it's really late, I'm just going to read a few very profound statements of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. He left this mortal world in the Bag Bazaar temple actually on December 31st or January the 1st, 1936-37, like that. And contemplate some of these statements. Look within, amend yourself, rather than pry into the frailties of others. It's very easy to point faults in others, but he said, always look at your own situation. Try to correct yourself rather than poke our nose. It's like the sieve with 1,000 holes criticizing the needle with one hole. Hey, you've got a hole, but the sieve has 1,000 holes. So sometimes it's like that. Easy to find fault in others, but we have to look at ourselves. There is no peace or happiness in our worldly life. Circumstances create turmoil and annoyance. Don't think there is any peace in this world. There isn't. It doesn't exist. We're in a foreign place. We're in a foreign place. There's no peace. This is Martyaloka, a place of death, a place of suffering. Life is for the glorification of topics on Hari. If that is stopped, then what need is there to carry on life? There's no meaning without that. Those favoured by God have their paths set by thorns. That's a hard one to stomach. And the big topic, we haven't got time. We are put to test and trial in this world. Only those who attend the kirtan of the devotees can succeed. Sometimes we don't attend, or we stand there like a statue. Therefore we will never succeed on our path back to Godhead. We heard that this morning. We are here on earth not to work as artisans for making big buildings with wood and stone, but to work only as messengers for the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Deva. It may be a little difficult to read this one. If I could perfectly deliver even one soul back home, back to Godhead, I would think my mission, propagating Krishna consciousness, to be successful. Just one soul. One moon can illuminate the sky. Many stars don't do much. One moon lights up the whole sky. Be indifferent to bizarre gossips. This is a very relevant one for today, I think. Bizarre gossips these days means like Facebook and all these other things people are into. Stick firmly to your cherished goals. No lack of impediments of the world will ever stand in your way. Don't get involved in all these things. Let me not, there's a beauty, let me not desire anything but the highest good for my worst enemy. In this world of Maya, averse to the Lord, full of trials and tribulations, only patience, humility, and respect for others are our friends for Hari Bhajan. It's unavoidable. This world is full of trials and tribulations. The Lord Gaurasundar puts his devotees in various difficulties and associations to test their patience and strength of mind. Success depends on their good fortune. Our good fortune, we take shelter of the instructions of pure devotee. Chant the Mahamantra loudly and with attachment. This will drive away inertia, worldly evils and pests. I don't know about literally, but within our mind it will at least. When thoughts in others misguide and delude you, have patience, introspect. Find faults in yourself. Know that others cannot harm you unless you harm yourself. There's another beauty. I don't think it's here. I'll see. Our span of life on earth is short. Our life will be crowned with success if the body wears out with constant discourses on Hari. To transform the adverse desires of the jivas is the supreme duty of the most merciful. To rescue one person from the stronghold of Mahamaya is an act of superb benevolence, far superior to opening innumerable hospitals. I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person of Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of this world. Such selfless heart will give up everything to try to help others to become Krishna conscious, even if they chastise us, arrest us, kill us, whatever they may try to do, but our only hope is to try to give them this opportunity. Physical illness with Hari Bhajan is preferred to physical fitness without Hari Bhajan. Do not give up devotional service, even if there are innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassment. Do not become disheartened. Krishna, which is your everything, always chant the holy name, becoming more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. And his last statement just before he left this world, his last talk actually, I have given anxiety to many people as I have been compelled to speak genuinely truthful words, and as I have told people to worship Hari without any hypocrisy. There are possibly many people who even consider me to be an enemy, so that they may become eager to perform the sincere service of Sri Krishna. Freed from other desires and deceitfulness, I have given various types of anxiety to numerous people. One day or another they will certainly be able to understand this. Taking a blade of grass between my teeth, I fall down and again pray that I may become the dust at the feet of Srimad Rupa, birth after birth. Not even worrying, let me stay here and preach, serve the Lord's desire. And just before he left the world, he asked, "Where's the water? Is it there?" He asked Sridhar Maharaj and one of his other disciples to sing. One of them sang the Sikshastakam, the other sang this song. We'll finish on this song, it's not very long. If we have the harmonium, if the harmonium player is still with us, it's Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. This is one of his favorite, because he was absolute, in just literally speaking, the hand of Rupa Goswami. He just was completely dedicated, being an eternal associate and servant of Rupa Goswami in the spiritual world. So this song was very dear to him. Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. Shri Rupa Manjari Padam Se Mora Sampada Shri Rupa Manjari Padam Se Mora Sampada Se Bhajana Pujana Semo Bhajana Pujana Semona Pranada Semora Abharan Semora Pranada Semo Jivane Jivano Emo Jivane Semora Rasahedi Semora Pachasidi Semora Rasahedi Semo Vede Dharama Siddhanta Siddhanta Semara mantra japa Sebrata setapa Semo Dharma Karama Anukula Habividhi Sepade Hui Besidhi Nirakibo Eduhi Nayane Serupa Madhuri Rashi Prana Kubalaya Shashi Apulita Ave Benishi Dine Tua darshanahi Kavale jalode Chirodina Tapita Jivano Aharupakara doya Dehumore padachaya Narottama loilo Sharano Shilpa Manjari Pada Semora Sampada Semo Bhajana Purana Semo Bhajana Purana Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga Nityananda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,